Welcome back to some top tier beyond all reason, with 16 of the highest level commanders in the game loading into the map. The unit limit is set at 32,000. The game itself is made by volunteers. It's open source, free to play, but it will cost you a whole chunk of your free time and probably more of your sanity. So if you have either of those, before we get started, it'd be incredible if you could smash that like button and maybe even subscribe. Help me count the algorithm. And Jimmy, what are we at? 1,015 likes on this video, on this cast, and I'll cast another one. And I'll probably do it anyways, because I don't know what else I'd do with my life. But thank you for watching. Hopefully, you've had a good day so far. And hopefully it's about to get just a little bit better, as these top-tier players load into the new and arguably improved version of one of the most iconic maps in Beyond All Reason. All That Glitters. It's now a little bit softer on the eyes, but just as hard on the mental health crises. These players certainly, especially at this level, including his Clankersaurus at rank 65, I believe puts him in the top 5 players of the game overall. So, his team going to be looking to him to hold it down. Balanced against, well, pretty much everyone here is in the top 10% overall. With some of them being in the top 10 in general. So, we're going to see what is at least some demonstration of how to play this map and what are the best strategies and who are you going to blame when everything goes wrong. All very important things and not necessarily in that order. But beyond all reason, there are 3 key resources. There's metal, there's energy, there's build power, and there's tenacity. We don't count that one. But in the early game, securing all these metal extractors down the center and gathering them as quickly as possible, especially the 3.2, which we'll find down the very center of the map, is by far the most important thing and the easiest way to get an economic advantage. Of course, the other team usually knows that as well. So, with those early scout units kind of jockeying for position, making sure nothing slips through, because we all know that metal extractors are made out of paper mache and dreams, which for something that's a massive walking war robot seems a little bit flimsy. But it's just kind of how things are. And before the lines of defense can be put in the early game, the early scout units like ticks from the Armada and pawns, also from the Armada, can easily slip through. We have Fra for the blue team over to the west side. We're going to use the horizontal perspective so we can see everyone at once. A lot of people might be used to the more top-down, but I like to watch the entire team as opposed to just one or the other. The ticks overrunning one another, the pawns helping to cut through, but overall trading between them. Some rocket bots flinging out rockets that are dangerous to everyone involved, and the construction bot ruining the fun of the pawn by slurping out the last of its health. A couple Cortex shurikens are going to stun the ticks that slipped by and stall them out until somebody who does more than emotional damage can get it done. But holds it still, rocket bot lines up the shot, knocks it out. And now, through the canyon, a few rovers sneaking by, as well as ticks trying to come through, but there's a commander in the way. They'll turn around. You can see how tight those spaces are, but Tick's able to navigate them pretty quickly. There's not that much. The thugs are being pumped out here for Asta. But the ticks might be able to take out some of the metal extractors. Oh, self-destruct. 106 IQ play there from Asta Asta. Okay, I got it. First, we're not going to go any further. 106 IQ play. He self-destructed the metal extractor in order to have a larger explosion radius, and he took out the ticks with it. Metal extractors explode, like many buildings when they die, but not all of them so dramatically. But he used that in order to minimize the damage. And then he made sure to maximize the emotional damage by then voting to resign. So, mixed bag here. But the front line, Sierra, a rank 60 player as Armada. Well, not sure he's always Armada, but today. And Mizuki trading off. I already heard some artillery firing off as well, but we have these early laser turrets. A Centurion for Clankersaurus. Mizuki putting up some turrets as well. A few Dragon's Teeth walls in order to physically block some of the rockets. Because every bomb, every bullet, and even every laser and beyond all reason is affected by terrain, trajectory, range, all these fancy things. As well as potentially doing flanking damage where If you attack from multiple sides, you can do a damage multiplier, which is why overwhelming with units can be so effective, besides, you know, just the outright damage per second. And now Clanker and Bansko fighting it out. A single Centurion, the strongest unit for the Armada in the Tier 1 bot lab, brawling it out. But okay, Beamer, just lasing through anything that gets close. And for the most part, outranging the Centurions. And I think the rocket bots are right on the edge of it. So they can just do some edging for a while. Which, you know, maybe they're into that. Meanwhile, a few tanks on the field. Also Armada. Is everyone? No, I definitely saw some Cortex earlier, but the Armada on the front line. Cortex is more brute force, where Armada has that early finesse. Though Tier 1 isn't too much of a difference. There's a couple artillery tanks just peppering the laser turrets, which don't have a lot of maneuverability because they're laser turrets. We see everyone exchanging fire. The fighters starting to build up on either side, making sure no early bombing runs can do devastating damage. Constantly patrolling those early bots to make sure they're not as vulnerable to the artillery. But again, the turrets can do nothing of the sort. Clankersaurus? Wait, did they manage to claim any of the 3.2s? Overall, you can see in the top right the economy struggle. Probably the most important, well, at this stage, metal per second is pretty important. But energy per second over time is actually a much more stable indicator of how well the game is going for either side. It's almost dead even at the moment. Also, MP, metal produced, is another good way to tell who's got a general lead. But army value as well, including commanders, can be very important. Though the commanders make up the overwhelming majority at this point. Fra has made a lot of progress against Ion Storm inside of the canyon. He's managed to bash his way through. Looks like the corpses of some Rocketeers, as his rocket bots had a much better opportunity. Clankersaurus is holding his ground right on the edge of the canyon, and overall, if we draw a line, it's kind of hard to tell who has the advantage. We can just compare sides, as the map is symmetrical in that way. Von Comet has pushed through for the red team. But the altitude and the height difference, if either team is able to get artillery on the high ground, like you see that radar tower for Ion Storm, it is blocked. Actually, this seems pretty intentional from Clankersaurus, this positioning. Just having the option on this little valley. But the lines are drawn. But some Tier 2 is already coming up to the front line. The eco players, or more eco-oriented at the back. A fat boy. It's a disaster. A commander goes down. Who was this? It looks like Marzuki. Give me the medal. He's desperately trying to finish his fat boy, which recently got what I think is a nerf in the newest season. It now has a larger AoE, but the damage drop-off in the AoE is much more dramatic, and it takes a lot more energy to build. It is one of the staple units that players use to try to push forward or strike back, and oh my god! You know who he just shot his... Wait, which fat boy did it? I am reasonably sure I saw that shot, but another fat boy. And these things cost more than a commander. Commanders are worth 1,250 metal. This thing's 1,400, but it's a little bit too close, and now it's gone. Unfortunately, with the disintegration gun, you can't reclaim the wreckage. It's disintegrated. There's nothing left. That is the downside of using the D gun. But the upside is no longer being shot by a massive plasma bot. Meanwhile, just a few bombers as the fighters try to cut through. And the fighter defenses are moving in, but the bombers might have an opportunity to get some damage done. The interceptors are not quite there in time. And there's just not enough of them. It looks like they may have enough. Oh no, the fighters landed! He didn't issue commands for a little while, but the bombers will get one runoff. Take out a line of... Well, it could have been a lot worse. So, a small skirmish in the skies. A foray into the back line, but no noticeable damage to the blue team. And that was quite an investment. Meanwhile, Fra... Oh, does he not have vision? Oh no, he comes up short with the D-gun! Oh no, and now he's got vision of him! How many shots does it take? Not enough, that was so close. He felt the heat. but he managed to stay out of the fire. Losing that fat boy would be tantamount to losing that entire position. Meanwhile, to the south, Asta has pushed back. Von Comet is literally hiding in the corner, cloaked next to a jammer. So nothing but a tick shoved right up his exhaust pipe would be able to see this commander. So, and that just doesn't sound very comfortable, but clearly it's not in a comfortable position. The blue team, pushing. Now, the front line forward, but there's a lot exchanging fire. Clankersaurus just standing casually cloaked. There's a jammer, it looks like, stopping it from being detected, but just firing off the fat boy in the general area. So, you already know, both teams, even if they don't have vision, know where the metal extraction points are. That's a pretty safe bet they're going to try to take them. So, firing blindly with the set target command, like Syra is doing here, is a relatively safe way of finding some damage. And also, you can take some pretty educated guesses on where they're going to be. But here we go. Blitz is overrunning the front line. The commander, D-Gun's coming out, whipping everything he can, taking terrible, terrible damage. But not terrible enough. He just lost all of those blitzes. And now the reclaim is coming through. Pap C finds himself with quite a boon here. A few hundred more metal out of nowhere just came right for him. Nadir is in position to deal with this. Is there radar coverage? They don't see the commander. And what they don't know can definitely hurt them. Out come a few shots. Nadir manages to D-gun his way through half a dozen. Clankersaurus is doing the same on the other side. Just machine gunning out the D. It's a very particular art, all right? Don't shame him. Again! Fool me once, and I will get fooled again. Nadir just disintegrating the front line, but maybe overstaying his welcome. As there is a fat boy. He's target firing. One shot! And it's lining it up. It's on the run! Direct hit! Or direct enough, the fat boy brings him down. A minor disaster on the front line. Though I would say, overall, it definitely got its money's worth. The commander. So what's the commander count? We're at 5-5. Doesn't matter whose side is which. Clankersaurus, this fat boy, has 10 kills and counting. This one over here is at 20. You can see the little counter on the unit icon if you're spectating yourself. I know I won't be clicking it as much as you might like. I do my best. There's a lot going on. Especially in these top-level matches. Bringing... Now, the heavy transport might not be the most quick aircraft, but when it's lugging something almost as heavy as your mother, it's still quicker than watching them walk. So, the fat boy not known for its agility. Hence the name. You see fat boys on either side. There's one in the canyon to the north. We'll call it the Red Canyon, as they're the ones currently occupying it, though it's pretty hotly contested at the moment. The massive plasma exchanges. Another thing about the fat boys is how much HP they have overall. If you don't have a disintegration gun or fat boys of your own, getting peppered with artillery, usually they have enough HP to get out in time. Clankersaurus completely shuts down another push. Just chilling in position. There was no vision, no radar, and slices through dozens. Meanwhile, Syra still on the front. The overview. We see the economies coming together, but it looks like the red team is the one with the energy lead. They have... Oh! Another commander down. Bro. Hermano. Brother. Dude. And other expletives that your teammates will, educate you with. But unfortunately, one of those commanders going down. Not quite sure who it was. It's the blue team who lost one, though, for sure. Oh, Pap C, maybe? No. Yes. Wait, what? Why? Why were you there? Well, the metal's still on the ground. The fat boys. Can we see how many in total are on the field? Only 6 of them, with a combined total of 107 kills between them. Meanwhile, the stealthy rocket launchers, the ambassadors, negotiating with the advanced metal extractors nearby. Ion Storm the commander, I believe, spotted by the ticks. I mentioned exhaust pipes. And the only way to see a unit that is cloaked and radar jammed is to physically be close enough to them. They have a small detection radius, but if they fire or you get close enough, you can spot them. And that's why the field gets flooded with things like ticks and pawns later on, in order to have that sort of vision. But Tier 2 labs all over the front line. Ion Storm and the Red Canyon's getting pushed back. Still some exchanges down the front. Some Jaguars being added in. Those lightning tanks. But at the same time, the Starlight getting overrun. Gonna try to save the day. Pulls back. Wait, is that a radar bot it pulled back with a transport? Interesting choice. That's one thing you could do. Still, no. What a move. Dramatic extraction, and Clankersaurus punches forward. Fat Boy with 33 kills. Meanwhile, the Shurikens coming and EMP the ambassadors, and the welders are melting through. The assault bots making sure that nothing can easily take the canyon, but bulls are charging into it as well. Meanwhile, Von Comet bringing some of his own. The Cortex vehicles, Banisher missile tanks, Salamander amphibious heat rays. Oh, whoa, what was that? Was that I think that was Scuttle? Like a little mini nuke that you can... Either way, it was super effective. Asta again with the surprise explosions. I think Clankersaurus is where the real action is. Obviously, the team is relying on him to power through. And so, no! The moment I say it, he gets lanced by one of the Starlights. The long-range artillery for the Armada. And the Fat Boy is finally broken after pushing most of the way forward and potentially exposing the flank of the canyon. Just a quick perusal of the economy. We see the wind farms growing across the field. The most efficient way to get early and mid-tier energy. We're not even quite at the point where fusion reactors, which apparently got quite a change in the newest patch, where they cost significantly less metal, but they give less energy. The idea being they're more of a tier 2 energy than like a tier 3, with advanced fusions being tier 3 plus. So it'll be interesting to see if players decide to use fusions earlier, or they still, many of the times, try to skip into the advanced fusion. But we have construction bots. Also, the labs themselves. Construction turrets are more expensive, so spamming them is not quite as efficient. But the labs themselves have a ton more build power, which is the ability to smash metal and energy together and make units to make at least someone upset. And the economies start to grow exactly even on energy. 15,000 on the data piece. The game still very much in flux as Clankersaurus has pushed forward alongside his teammate Mizuki in light green, but Von Comet with negotiators now opening up negotiations as well with those missile tanks. What was taken out here? Oh, the tactical nuke launcher, and now the geo... Oh, that's an advanced geo. Which means... Ta-da. Has no extra defenses, is vulnerable, and everything nearby is gonna have a bad time. Asta, who tried to resign 2 minutes into the game, made it another 15. But it seems like he's not too motivated to go much further. Clanker, still protecting a lot of his teammates' holdings. So far, the greatest economy goes to green, light green here, who's building fusions right behind the front line, which might seem more vulnerable, but where are your units to defend them? If he loses that position, that's probably them losing the game overall anyways. Meanwhile, the spiders climbing the hills and right back down them. Recluses, one of my favorite. I love the spiders, right? Especially on maps like this, but in general. They're pretty good in general. They're even better when they can look down on you. And oh no! The Recluse is sneaking by to engage the missile tanks, and it's very hard to actually target them, though not impossible. As they try to sneak around the side, manage to find a little... Oh! Spider on spider violence. awkward. And here we go, melee range! Oh, they're blasting! The first volley went to red, but it looks like the numbers will be there. What a interesting microcosm in every sense of the word of the battle on the field. And both players clearly paying attention to it. Oh no! Von Comet blasting through with the Tiger striking deep. The Tiger tanks from Cortex. The most generic tank in the game, in my opinion. Alright? They do decent damage. They have decent health, decent speed. They do exactly what they look like. They're just a tank. Even more than the ball or anything else. So they're great for punching through the lines and kind of filling the gaps. They're a very good filler if you have the economy. And so far, filling out any sort of weaknesses on the blue team with plenty of explosions. There's a few salamanders mixed in as well, which apparently are very efficient for the cost. They only cost 350. Those heat ray amphibious tanks. Null lines up the shot and will D-gun. Null, hello? Oh, I think he had a perfect D-gun opportunity and said, no, it must be a trap. No, I don't think so. Ion Storm on the other hand. Hello? The ticks can't believe their eyes, but he's getting overwhelmed, and now he won't be whelmed at all. While the canyon is breaking for the blue team, the same can be said for the red as Ion Storm, the top player on the team, is now looking to resign. Both sides taking heavy damage down the surprisingly vulnerable canyon. Though really being in the canyon opens you up to the longer range options of the opponents that are kind of collapsing into it, as opposed to being an easily defensible point. A lot of the times the game comes down to which side's canyon breaks first. But what happens when it's both? I think is what we're gonna find out here. Though it seems much more decisively the blue team will be wiping out red. Ion Storm. None of the rest of his team. The thing is, the red team still has a slight energy lead, despite all the damage done here. Though that might change momentarily, as the Jaguars lighting things up. Not quite able to get to the energy converters. The vast majority of the wind turbines are still intact, and still somehow Bansko with his backline. The Recluses out of Clankersaurus, though, finding a lot of opportunity. Bansko standing very still because vision is based on movement. Technically correct, but it's not going to save him. Down he goes. And was handed another commander as well, it seems. He's going to move up and try to stop the bleeding. Metaphorically, of course. Fat Boy's pushing forward. The mid-canyon. Red actually making a lot of progress here. Von Comet was driven out of the valleys, but now finds the open field a bit more malleable, at least for now. Those Banishers can easily obliterate mid-tier units in a single shot. Heavier ones in a couple more. But Tier 3 is online. The Razorback Battle Mech is one of the most effective ways to widen a gap. Those Gatling guns just completely mowing down Tier 1 and weak Tier 2. Not so good against massed artillery or snipers, but this position was already broken. They're trying to shore it up, but the Razorback on its own might be able to take out all these pawns, just melting through them. It may eventually get overwhelmed. The flanking damage will help, but it's already got 35 kills as it's just chewing through the defenses. Help! Help! I'm being repressed. The fusion itself, he's gonna try to reclaim it, but takes it out. And another fusion. This Razorback, a one-bot army. The Hornets, or Wasps rather, will cut through. Oh my, that single Razorback, 66 kills. And it's not done! Gonna get a whole bunch of... It still has 20% HP. The wind turbines can get 100 kills before going down. The Rampage! Oh my. Tier 2 construction bots, more wind turbines, and all stacked up as well. The Wasp not landing, 104 kills. Oh my. And actually, it's just taking down the air. Could have done that in the first place. Oh, and it's not even gonna die. Well. All right, boys. We're going in. Oh, sweet liberty. The Razorbacks still just tearing through. The fighters in the sky, and a huge bombing run is queued up. The last chance to turn this around after a single Razorback just cut through the last of the canyon. The bombers may be the only opportunity, but the fighters were wiped out of the sky. The bombing run is coming across, and there's nothing to stop it. The anti-air is not enough. And they're just gonna go straight through the construction turrets. The bombs raining down, carpeting the field. Another Razorback. Some of the splash damage from the ground, but another target. Another bombing run. Another set of construction turrets should be able to be taken out. And doesn't quite land it on the advanced fusions. But without the construction turrets, the experimental gantry is gonna struggle to produce units in any sort of meaningful fashion. So, mostly superficial, yet recoverable. It was pretty good. Not great, not terrible. But did it do more damage than a single Razorback on the other side of the map? Of course, a Razorback costs as much as about 35 bombers, so there is that. Wait, maybe a little less than that. What are they, 200? Something like that. Well, what is this? A demon. The flamethrower mech. And if you'd like to hear about propane and propane accessories, well, this isn't the place. But I'll tell you what, this thing is even better than the Razorback at taking out those early units. It is more costly and even more vulnerable to long-range fire, but it will be burninating across the countryside if given an opportunity. The energy is still dead even. The metal produced is within 1%. The bombing run gonna try to take out. One Razorback cleaved its way through. 4 could be devastating damage. But the air never recovered. The bombers are heading out. They've already got a bead on some of the economy. The fusions are scattered at the front. And now will be scattered into the units lost tab. The fighters are cut out of the sky. Air superiority continues to go to the red team. But the lines are drawn. The pawns are trying to break through. And is there enough defense to actually deal with it right now? There's really not that many units here. The Razorbacks and the Welders will match them on the field. Cutting through. And, you know, it wasn't as dramatic as I made it out to be, but still. Hundreds of units coming in. The front line. Battled back on either side. No one able... Oh, wait, the Razorbacks! How did I forget about them? Apparently the red team did as well. A tier 2 aircraft construction plant taken down. Converters. Down to 1 Razorback. This one, 41 kills. Paling in comparison to the one before it, but still, the fact it dragged all the reinforcements back. And now Vanguard plasma cannons are climbing the mountain to rain down fire from extreme range. And, oh, the shots are already landing. All over the base. The fusion's targeted. It does look like the fusions don't have nearly the explosion effect they did before. The advanced fusions, which we see back here, are the ones that can take your entire base with them, but are also the most concentrated version of energy. Meanwhile, though, Razorbacks trying to cut in, but the demons are burning through the grunts. The tier 1 on either side at near melee range. Ticks as well, and friendly fire isn't. Everyone's taking that damage from the fire. There is no way to shrug it off. Both sides are suffering under the heat of this concentrated firepower. But so far, unable to break through. 50 kills on each of these demons. Do they get more? So units have veterancy of a kind, based on how much damage they do. Like, these demons have plus 7% health. Most units will get a slight amount more health as they do damage. There's a few, like the Gunslinger, who have more damage-oriented effects. But, fun fact. And then you can see the little rank borders above their heads sometimes, if they're particularly high on veterancy. But it's usually not a massive factor. But it's not nothing as well. The Vanguard's on the high ground. A D-gun finally reaching up and around, and not in a fun way. The Vanguard getting pushed back down, but can't aim that angle. Tilt me over. Meanwhile, the push to the front line, tier 3 on either side. But the demons are not enough. The missiles over the top, landing enough of the shots, and Shivas now breaking through. The Cortex Shivas with the Armada Razorbacks. The Shivas much better at pounding through hardy targets. The Razorbacks at clearing the chaff. There is a swarm of tier 1 here to physically block any more run-bys. There are wasps landed on the side of the mountain. We have some starlights mixed in, but despite one of the top players on either team leaving the game, it's still almost dead even. Metal produced is dead even. I can't tell you how rare that is. 31 minutes into the game. Energy per second is within 2%. 0%, which also isn't very many percent. Still, the missiles flung out. Something of a stalemate, where dozens, if not hundreds, huge EMP missile. EMP missile emplacement, I have to assume, a little bit further back in order to zone out some of this. There's some res bots repairing and resurrecting in there, reclaiming when they can't. The starlights, and right now the blue team suffering from a lack of targeting fixtures. They know there's things like starlights back there, but they actually don't really have the range. They have a few starlights of their own, but it's the orange team who's a little bit, I say orange team because red, cowardly, backed off, but with their sheer amount of units, that's providing the vision. So that's giving them a better target for the starlights to be able to move through. Meanwhile, though, the Vanguards somehow got EMP'd. What a shot. And now the demons are pushing through. There's just so much. The Porcupine defense. Turrets are pale in comparison to tier 3 units especially. So barely being used here. Though we have some shields. Pulsar turrets. Some of the strongest at range. Fires a massive beam that can lance through multiple units until it is exhausted. Only 2 or 3 shots to kill those Shivas. I think both sides. Right now we see 8 starlights on the field in total. Sorry, pulsars. I get them messed up a lot. They've fired the same sort of beam. The starlight is the mobile version, essentially. Winter, can I play this game on my phone? You guys have phones. You can like and subscribe on your phone. They look like ants on my phone, Winter. Well, they look like ants right here, too. But we'll see whose swarm ends up winning. The red team has actually retaken the energy lead, but a couple thousand here or there is not a critical. The army value is exactly the same until somebody just finished another tier 3 unit, but it's within a couple percent. Meanwhile, another foray of Razorbacks. Do they have vision of this? They don't know. They do now. They see it. They're coming into range, but the Razorbacks are going to try to punch through. Literally hundreds. The peasants rise up and overwhelmed. They'll take them down by the ankles, but just chewing through it. Oh my. For the low cost of several thousand pods and ticks, they'll be able to take down a couple. Syra's in position potentially for a D-gun, but completely swarming the Razorbacks with pawns. And even those Gatling guns are not enough. The mini-map has an almost no bots land in between them. An EMP missile is fired onto the experimental gantry. What even had the range for that? I'm not sure. The Vanguards are blasting each other from... Can they not see that one? They can't! What are they doing up there? It's just shooting at it from the other mountain. I don't... Meanwhile, Syra, point blank range, takes it down. The Razorbacks are cleared out. Meanwhile, though, there's more where that came from. The demons look to engage, but the vanguards are scampering away up the high ground. More shots, I think, targeting Syra. And the other vanguard, which has been blasted. The hills with their spiders clambering around, looking for an angle. And so far, it's working really well, actually. The micro on that single vanguard has forced 4 or 5 vanguards back. The vanguard they tell you not to worry about. Another EMP. Targets the high ground and hits the vanguard scampering on the other side of the hill. And it looks like the red team is forming up for a push. They have the tier 1 jamming the gap, losing dozens at a time, but filling it with hundreds. Currently, there are 442 pawns on the field, making up over 10% of the 4,000 units on the map. Some catapults from the Cortex, the long-range missile bots, looking to push the line back. Are those bombers? Double EMP! Lands a little short, and here we go! And here we don't, and here we do. It's unclear, but both sides into the fray. The catapults, the demons, the tigers and titans. The Cortex being pushed back as the armada pushes forward. The Razorbacks as well. The demons holding the line. The pawns spontaneously combusting. And now there's some grunts swinging in and trying to outflank the titan. Is there any air? The air has mostly been knocked out of the hole. Pawns just deconstructed, or grunts deconstructed spontaneously. But the sheer amount of artillery. A couple demons EMP'd, allowing the vanguards to get a good beat on them, and will likely be taken down. Still a stalemate. Still near dead even. Exactly the same amount of metal produced. Exactly the same amount of army value. Exactly, or almost the same amount of energy. And still no conclusion. What a brawl. But it's the canyon. The Red Canyon has been a continued sieve? They're leaking through. Whatever that thing is. And it's a point of contention, and it feels like, well, how many vanguards? There are currently 13 vanguards on the map. Let's see if we can narrow that down. We'll go into Clankersaurus, who has currently 5 of them, with 187 kills between them. The bleeding has stopped. The tourniquet of tier 1 units has held the line, for now. Oh, but the bombers have broken through, past the canyon, over the top. Asta, for all his interest in leaving the game early, has stuck it out and finds an opportunity. The grunts try to move forward. And there is just an absolutely overwhelming. Every single one of those units is totally annihilated. A bit of a mistimed attack. The army value is still in favor of the red team, though. They aren't really building up. I don't see any bombers building up currently. But there is a nuclear missile silo. Oh my. This game has been so hectic. I don't know if anyone's thinking about it. I don't know. There should be some anti-nuke in there. But all it takes is a tiny gap. And there's no such thing as a small nuclear missile. The energy per second. Oh, Clankersaurus with several Basilica plasma cannons. Von Comet holding. He has 18,000 energy. He's making up about a third of the energy on his entire team, pumping out these tier 3 units. Syra's been holding the canyon after it was breached earlier. That nuclear missile silo is charging up. About 20 seconds. And if they can find the gap. it's still... The metal produced is dead even. The army value is actually in favor of the red team, who's now pushing through down the center. But I don't know. They don't know how many Titans, how many Starlights. They can see the weapons firing, but they can't see what's shooting at them. And I think if they knew, they probably wouldn't be going so deep or so greedily. But the standoff, the march continues. And the sheer production continues to go to the red team. The vanguards, though, have pushed through. The shields are barely... Oh, no. Oh, it's a disaster! Nuclear missile lands! And with it, Syra's base, the tentative hold that they had on the entire game, is shattered in nuclear fire. His production, his construction... It either got sniped, stunned, or they just simply didn't have the anti-nuke. And the first nuclear missile, and I think this is accurate in so many ways, is oftentimes the most important, and possibly the only one. It wasn't enough, as there's definitely anti-nuke back there. But, what is happening here? He's taking out... Where did all these Shivas... They've been stuck the whole time. They were stuck! Help me, Step Commander, I'm stuck! Oh no! There were like 14 Shivas stuck by wind turbines his teammate was building. That's about 10-15% of all the metal on their army. The next nuke is loaded up, though I doubt it'll be as successful as 85 kills on the nuclear launcher. The Apocalypse. Oh, no, I'm sorry. The Armageddon. I think the Cortex version is the Apocalypse. But the energy lead has swung heavily towards the blue team, as losing 80 wind turbines certainly doesn't help. And the economy has been untouched for the most part, ever since the bombing run and the run-bys. Neither team has been able to progress that much. But the blue team has held and pushed back, whereas red has barely held it together. Interceptor goes up and stops the second nuke. But there's no putting that genie back in the bottle. Clankersaurus, with a whole lot of Tier 3 now marching across the field, covering with some EMP missiles. The standoff down the middle. Still. Great constant. You see the craters, the wreckage. And the only reason there's not more is because both sides are so efficient at reclaiming and resurrecting because it's worth so much. EMP missiles trading blows on either side to take out some of the artillery. The momentum has shifted. The nuclear missile undercutting the tentative defense. And it might be too much. Every part of the game, every slider, besides the damage counter of exactly 2.5 million damage apiece, and now it's tilted towards the blue team as well. Is there any recovery? The normal method of recovery, or at least in my experience, besides nuclear missiles, is bombing runs. At this stage of the game, with the field this clogged with units, especially for the blue team and their defenses, there's no breaking through on the ground. Not without some massive distraction somewhere else. And they simply don't have the economy anymore for it. Technically, they could try to snipe some commanders. In fact, the blue team only has 2 commanders left, whereas the red team, that technically has 3 for now. And now it's even. The artillery still exchanging. The Juggernaut! When you can afford a Juggernaut in a game of this caliber, in a game this close, well, that's almost worse. Maybe it is worse than a nuke. The EMP missiles breaking through. Oh, what an alley-oop here. What an EMP. He catches every vanguard. Stop right there, criminal scum. And the Razorbacks that broke through initially, now the 5th or 6th or 10th generation will take their sweet time. Take your sweet time, old lady. I got all day. The Vanguards following the Titans. The pawns are breaking through. The defense is broken. And Clankersaurus will lead his team to victory. Despite his lack of tenacity, Asta finding some opportunities to break through. The orange team, and yes, it is the orange team, with Von Comet and Syra on the front lines, holding, and occasionally finding a way to punch back. But eventually, they get knocked out. Honestly, especially on a map like this with high-level players, if you're coming from StarCraft, that's essentially the same as a half-map scenario. Except in Beyond All Reason, you don't mine out. Go back to the stats. Just pretend there were a stat screen. I don't know why it didn't come up. I think I need to bring the graph up. That's my bad. Jimmy, remind me of that next time. But since you don't mine out, it can become a stalemate until you get those super weapons or the top tier units and coordinate an attack. It's very rare that one team doesn't have an edge over the other until past the 30-minute mark. So, a great match to everyone involved, and I hope you enjoyed. And let me know what you want to see more of Beyond All Reason. I hope it made your day a little bit better. If you got the means and motivation, it'd be awesome to check out Patreon or YouTube membership, but I hear liking and subscribing is still free for now. So make sure to check out this video that Jimmy picked out just for you, unless it sucks, and then it's not my fault, it's Jimmy's fault. But thank you for watching. Good luck, have fun. I'll see you next time. Stay unreasonable.